Alright, now we got the hub, the stub axle. Got my little piece of wood in there. And I'm going to take this and basically definitely put something in the middle here where it's solid. If you just pound on this, you might deform this. I've done it. You don't want to do that. And anyway, the other one, it was just insanely difficult to get out, and I'm not sure what the deal is because this one's coming out pretty easily with some moderate whacking. And now you got your hub. This outer one, seal is just about flush, and the inner, on both of mine, it was like this, recessed a little bit. And you're going to take those seals out with either a real big screwdriver or maybe even a tire iron. And then there's that spacer in there. You can move it to the side a little like that and knock those bearings out. That's going to destroy the bearings. That outer right here, that race comes out. There it goes. Anyway, these seals are surprisingly hard to get out. I got my tire iron here. The easiest way is to get it in there and rotate it so that you just pop it out, as opposed to trying to force it out like that. Just rotate it. Alright, got the seals off. Took that inner race out. Here's the spacer in the middle. You can move it to the side there. And when you do this, you're pretty much going to destroy the bearings. So, there's the spacer. Anyway, oh yeah, for this inner one, there's this big old circlip. You're going to need some circlip pliers for that. There's no way to do it without. And then that one knocks out pretty easily. But this one, this outer one is in there really tight, and you're probably going to break the bearing. And I mean, you're definitely going to make it unusable, but you're probably just going to break all those little things out of there too. But hang on to it, because if you don't have anything to tap the new one in there with, and you don't have a press, you can use this outer. You can use this outer race here to anyway, to put it on top of the next one when you tap it in. It's also a good idea to note where this one is. The other one seats properly, and then there's that circlip. This one, it's on this side, it's pretty much just exactly flush with the seat, because there's basically no bottom to the seat, so you could just keep driving it if you didn't stop. So anyway, yeah, mine's pretty much flush right there. Alright, I put some of this caliper grease on here after cleaning it up. Make it move a little more freely. Hopefully that's a good idea. And I'm going to do the same in these guys that go into the brake shoe kind of lower retaining thing. And clean everything up, clean up the hub, put a little bit of anti-seize on this face so that we won't have to use so much force to get it off of the drum next time. And take those bearings out, clean up the bearing housing really good, and we're getting ready to put them back in. And now I got some bearing grease here. They had NLGI 2 and 1. 2 is apparently thicker. I'm not sure which is ideal, but you're going to pack your bearings as best you can. I'm still not sure the best way of packing those. The one with the removable inner race, I guess, would be the outer bearing, but do the best you can. Maybe a grease gun with a needle. I don't know if that would work, but anyway, and then we're gonna install them. I borrowed this, well, rented it from AutoZone. It's a ball joint press kit. Got the receipt there, and this middle ring, I think it's the middle one. Maybe it's the big one. It must be the middle one. Is just the right size for the outer races. Crap. For the outer races to tap them in, tap these bearings in. So You could use your old bearings maybe to tap them in, or something else, or you could find somebody with a press. That would be ideal, of course. I don't have that luxury. Anyway, so here are your inner bearings. They're pretty easy to pack. Here's your outer bearings with the removable race, and can't see very well. It's pretty hard to get grease in there, but at least that's what I thought, and it's really not that tough. If you just do the normal way of putting some grease in your hand and then taking this thing and kind of like this, take some grease in your left hand and put a little thing there, and then take this side, just kind of smoosh it and take it away, and a little at a time, working your way over like that, and you'll see it eventually come up between this little tiny ring, basically retaining ring, and the outer race. You just keep kind of working across and work a little more into it. So anyway, I got this guy in here. That was more challenging than I thought, than I expected it to be. Use this guy. It really fits perfectly around there. Whoop. Put this guy on top. And, oh, yeah, I spent about 15 minutes trying to get it in. It kept going here, 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 and it just was not going in. And then the other one was a lot easier. Well, anyway, so I flipped the bearing over, and suddenly it just went in like no problem. And it should be symmetric, but I don't have an explanation for that. Looks like it might be a little more rounded on one side, but it sure went in a whole lot easier. And I don't think that should be a problem. I think it's symmetric enough. Anyway, so that's worth a shot if you're having a hard time getting it in there. So now I'm going to put a little more grease in there, put a little grease in this cavity here, which I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Here's our new seal, but I'm going to do it anyway, and then put some more grease inside there. And that middle area is kind of like going to be like a little bit of a well for grease. We're going to put, I don't know, a tablespoon or two in there, a fair amount, and then drop in the spacer, and then put in that the inner bearing, and put in a little more grease after that, and then put in the circlip, and then the inner seal, and the seals are identical. Alright, we got all that back together, and put a little lube on the axle and seat these back where they were. The inner one a little bit inside, the outer one pretty much flush, and reinsert the axle. This one went in a little bit harder than it did the first time, but once it got past kind of the outer edge, it just kind of fell in, which was great. They both did that. Alright, I think I got it seated, and just leaned on it and tapped a lot for a long time. Then I ended up taking to get the last little bit, put a piece of metal across it, and put a vise on this side, a vise on that side, and just turn a little at a time. And it's not going anymore, and I was really cranking on the vices, and it's still, hopefully it's all the way in there.